Did you know there's a biblical worry list? We'll get to that in a minute. How's your worry list? If you're like most leaders, in fact, most people, you keep a pretty good list of things to worry about. Ministry finances, personnel, relationships at work, and even home. Compliance to regulations. That list could go on and on. And it could get personal too. Debts, sickness, children, their relationships. There's a lot to worry about. It dawned on me that in the Bible there is actually a list of all the things we should worry about. Really, you ask? Well, it's in the New Testament, and it was written by the Apostle Paul. He had a lot that he could worry about. He was hated by the Jewish leaders, imprisoned, run out of town, shipwrecked, even snake-bitten on the island of Malta. You know, based on his past, Paul could have had a big worry list for his future. So, here's Paul's list from his letters to the Philippians. Be anxious for, here it is, Paul's list, nothing. What? Wait, you say, I have some legitimate concerns about things in the future. I have a right to worry. Do you? Well, noted preacher Charles Haddon Spurgeon said, half our fears arise from neglect of the Bible. Can I say that again? Half our fears arise from neglect of the Bible. Ouch. You mean I could draw a line through many of my concerns, my anxieties, my worries, by paying more attention to God's Word? Well, in a word, yes. And I think you could eventually learn to not worry at all. Now, that doesn't mean you walk around oblivious to issues or potential problems. It means you learn to trust God in all things. I've often said that I have this pretty simplistic view of that. You either trust God or you don't. There's no middle ground. And the more we can learn to leave these concerns in God's hands, the less we worry. Paul probably expected a bit of a shock when he wrote that list of things to worry about, so he quickly followed that pronouncement with something of a plan. And I like the way Eugene Peterson puts it in The Message. He says, instead of worrying, pray. Let petitions and praises shape your worries into prayers, letting God know your concerns. Before you know it, a sense of God's wholeness, everything coming together for good, will come and settle you down. It's wonderful what happens when Christ displaces worry at the center of your life. That's from Philippians 4, 6 and 7. Leadership expert Steve Gutzler dealt with worry like many of us. He said, for years I was plagued by worry and worst case scenarios. I would awfulize, a word he made up, or catastrophize, another made up word. I made a lot of mountains out of molehills. Gutzler has a list of ways to deal with the stress of worry, and among those items is prayer. It's amazing what happens when we follow Paul's advice and shape our worries into prayers. King David found the power of prayer and its benefits too. Listen to his wisdom. He said, I prayed to the Lord, and he answered me. He freed me from all my fears. Those who look to him for help will be radiant with joy. No shadow of shame will darken their faces. I love that. Psalm 34, 4 and 5. Did you catch the second part of those verses? Those who pray, who look to God to take care of the things on their heart, will be radiant with joy. What an exchange. From the burden of worry to the brilliance, the radiance of joy. So, trust God, read His Word, pray, allow the Lord to take your burdens. That old hymn said it well. Take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there. I'd love for you to learn a whole lot more about Media Alliance, the latest going on. And the best way is to visit our website, medialliance.cc. And you can help us spread this kind of encouragement by liking, subscribing, and sharing these videos. Thanks, and God's best.